Welcome to Film Talk Weekly Radio. This is your guest host, Castle Searcy, with the Santa Fe International Film Festival. And today we are back with Rob Mesa, a Santa Fe resident, sitting in LA right now.
Yeah,
And we talked about, was it a year ago?
I want to say
Maybe?
it's almost. I think it's almost 2 years now
Yeah,
since we
yeah.
talked. So yeah, it's 2 years. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and so to our audience, be sure to go back and you can still listen to our last interview where we talked a lot about Rob's public service work, philanthropy, working
yeah.
with the youth. And we can touch on that again too and see where you're at. But I just kind of want to start with an update of what are you up to?
Post production for my film Piece of Night that we filmed a couple weeks ago. It's my first horror film that I created with a friend of mine, and that I wrote the script for. And yeah, I'm in Los Angeles doing a couple pickup shots at the moment and doing our sound mixing, and we're a composer and everything like that. Just putting all the pieces of the puzzle together to get it ready for the festival out. So yeah, yeah,
So those of you who don't know Rob, he's so many things. So you're an actor, you've been in Dark
yes.
Winds, you've been in Grey's Anatomy. Tell us some other.
There's one show called Accused. It's an anthology series that's available on Hulu and FX, and another series called The Men Who Built America, The Frontiersmen, where I get to play a Tecumseh, leader of the Shawnees. That was quite a privilege, and just that was exciting time. I mean, they're all exciting parts. So yeah,
Yeah,
and doing musicals and singing and dancing. Yeah, so yeah,
yeah,
a little bit of
yeah.
everything. Yeah.
And like comedy, right?
Oh yeah, I did started doing stand up about right when the actors strike happened. I started doing stand up because I would write for friends and give them material. Then I started doing it on my own. Then incorporated that with my keynotes because I do a lot of keynotes for the Indian Child Welfare Act, and we talk about men's mental health and suicide on reservations and everything like that, and making everybody a bit more aware of everything, and just creating a comfortable space where everyone can come together and speak about those things, especially men expressing their true feelings about their mental health and everything. So yeah.
Really important, I think, now more than ever, right?
Oh yes, yeah, for sure.
Um, so you're also an artist,
Yes, I'm
and
also an artist and a professional photographer, and I'm actually here in LA doing an art show. I just finished that up this past weekend, so that was lovely, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I
okay, and the
also do a
art
lot
show
of
is at the
the Gene Autry Museum. Yeah,
in Los Angeles.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, and tell me a little more about that, just for my curiosity.
That's one of the bigger Native American art markets that happen every once a year. And I
Okay,
haven't done the show in about 5 years because I've been so busy with film and theater and television and everything. So it's nice to be back doing that again and being putting on the other hat of just being an artist for a while, and then yeah, then going back to being a director. So it's been fun. So yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and also do a lot of philanthropy work with the Ukrainians of here in New Mexico, and I'm actually getting ready to go out again in September. I'm in the process of creating another project where I'm collecting tribal flags that anybody that wants to that supports the Ukrainians, and I was going to go deliver it to the soldiers, just to boost up morale, but just to show that all the tribes here in the States are very supportive of them. So making that trip, yeah, soon, yeah, yeah. So
Wow, you're going to Ukraine.
yeah, and probably like September or August. I'm trying to map out getting all the flags and everything like that. So yeah,
Okay, great. These are all like super interesting um, projects that you're working on. I can't
yeah,
decide where to start. I mean, I think
yeah.
mainly we're here to talk about the new film you're working on, and you've already. Why don't you give me a background? Like, where did the idea come from? Let's start.
So the idea came from I was over the past 2 years or 2.5 years, I've been trying to because writing was my first passion because I started in journalism and poetry, and I always wanted to push myself as a writer. And I thought about what are the genres that are, in my personal opinion, the hardest to write for. And I came up with two of them. It's comedy, and the next one was horror. So I was like, okay, well, I've already done the comedy route. I'm still working and fixing that a little bit more. And then it's like, oh, horror. And so, and also another thing is that as Native Americans, we don't have any representation as so far as the horror genre is concerned. I mean, we hit everything else on the nose very well. I just realized that no one has made a horror film, so I'm going to take that on as a challenge. And I was trying to figure out what could I do that is a part of my culture and everything like that, because a lot of nations and a lot of other people from ethnic backgrounds, all their folklore is like people have Krampus, people have like just those like leprechaun movies and Annabelle and yeah. I always cannot say the El Llorona. Oh God,
I
it's
don't know
horrible.
that. I'm
And
not familiar.
this is being recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's another one. God, I'm going to think about it later on after this is all over. So yeah,
You
but no. So when I
have
was thinking
time.
about, yeah, I have time. When I was thinking about what our folklore would be for Navajos, and I just came up with, the best thing I could, that was there. It's just the folklore of skinwalkers. So yeah, because you hear stories like that when you're a kid and everything, and it's just terrifying. And yeah, so this
So are
that's what I.
skinwalkers, for those of us that don't know, is specific to Navajo or
Oh yeah, so it's mostly toward Navajo. A lot of other tribes have their versions of skinwalkers, and they have the Alaskan tribes have their version of it. The Lakotas have their version of it, and everybody just has kind of their version of it. So yeah,
okay. And what is a
but
skin? What is first of all, it's a terrifying name, a
yeah,
skinwalker. Yeah,
yeah.
just the name of it. What were the stories you heard growing up?
That they're shapeshifters and that it was based off of witchcraft and everything, and that when you die as a person, when you go up to meet your maker, all the horrible things about you and all the dark spirits on you stay on earth and they manifest into these shapeshifters and everything like that. So that's the folklore we heard as kids, and that was quite terrifying. So yeah,
Mhm.
but my film is called A Piece of Night, and it's a supernatural horror short about three friends mourning their best friend's death. And after the funeral, they stumble upon a piece of pottery, and they're unaware of its dark ancient forces that are rooted in native or Navajo folklore. And as the night unfolds, grief twists into terror, and they're haunted by a skinwalker that thrives on their sorrow and fear. A lot of dark comedy is involved too. So but it's been fun. Yeah.
Just really riveting. And I'm not a horror. I'm too scared of horror films to see
Yeah.
them.
Uh,
But from the trailer, I could tell. Like, first of all, I love like the I don't know. I'm probably going to say this wrong. The genre of native, like I love seeing native film and filmmakers and writers represented, and I'm
yeah.
really into like, of course, Dark Winds and Reservation Dogs, and so I'm always like really interested in these stories, and especially it looks like you brought in like a lot of your personal knowledge or your history or lore from the Navajo upbringing,
Yeah.
like talk about like what parts of it are like your writing and what parts are like true or from stories that in your background.
Well, all of them are just bits and pieces of a different stories, and but I created the story of all these characters with my good friend. It just stems from, like I said before, just stories you hear as a kid
Yeah.
and things that terrify you. So, but yeah, like I said before, there was no I didn't really see any representation for horror films. So I thought I'd want to take a crack at it, and yeah, and I really appreciate you watching that trailer.
Yeah, from what I can see in
Um,
the trailer, I mean, I was scared, especially at one point.
well, yeah, well, that's a good thing because that's a good response. Yeah, because that's what you want. Yeah, because
Yeah, it's easier to watch it in the daytime with you nearby too than
yeah,
me watching it home alone. But
yeah. There was a couple of times on set when, because I'm directing and acting in it as well, where
yeah,
our gentleman that was playing the skinwalker actually just, there was times when he just, I can't curse on here, can I? But
no,
just no, but just scared yeah, it was very terrifying. So
yeah.
yeah, that everyone got a good kick out of that. So
Yeah,
it
I
was fun.
bet. I think I
Yeah,
would have a problem like being face to face with them,
yeah.
even as
So
an actor.
yeah, yeah.
Who did the makeup and the like the costuming?
And my good friend Stephanie, she worked on it too. and my good friend Victor, who also he's the one that created the story, with me. And yeah, it just was a collective of everything, of everyone. And also, it was the beginning of there was these sketches I made in the beginning of how I wanted it to look and
Okay.
everything. So, and I just gave it to them, and then we all put our heads together and just let them play. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. I wasn't really too much of a helicopter mom when they were doing it. So they did, yeah. So they did a great job.
So you're working with your friends, right?
Yeah, working
Like,
friends and family, and just like my cousin is talented. His name's Kai. He's amazing DP, and yeah. So it's just friends and
and people you love to
just
work with,
yeah, and
right?
yeah, and they're all fantastic at what they do in every
Hmm.
department and everything like that. And my good friend Jordan, he's in Nashville composing everything, and then I have a group of people here in LA that I'm working with to finish the sound mixing and everything like that. So it's been a good collaborative, everyone
Yeah.
coming together, and it's quite flattering because they just are they're doing this just from the script that was written, and so that's good. Makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but they all did a fantastic job, so I really can't wait for everyone to see it. So, and currently we're still doing our fundraiser at the moment
Yeah. Tell
because
us
every
about that.
yeah, so we're our goal is 5,000, and we're about like at almost 2,000 right now. And
Okay.
yeah, if you can donate, it's a piece of night at GoFundMe.com, and
Okay.
yeah, that'd be greatly appreciated. But yeah, because everyone just is just doing this just because they love making movies, and then with the funds just distributed to everybody that worked on the film as a thank you for their their work. So
Okay.
yeah, so it's
And is
just
it to finish the editing also, or is it
yeah,
just
it's finished. Yeah, it's
okay.
finished editing and sound mixing as well. Yeah, so it's
Okay.
just yeah. So just
Okay. That's
using all
a
those bigger toys to pay for it. So it's a
yeah,
lot.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And so, I mean, that's a relatively small ask in the film world, and I think like our friends in Santa Fe can cover this, I'm gonna say.
yeah.
So it's a piece of night. Or how do we reach you again? Say that again.
It's so you go to GoFundMe and you just
Okay.
type in a piece of night and
Okay.
it'll pop up, and
Okay.
that's our funding page. Yeah,
And we'll put it in our social media too if anyone needs to
wonderful. Thank you. I
grab it
appreciate that. It
from the
means a
radio.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's always awesome to be a part of, you can actually be a part of film. Like you can go to the festivals and all, but here's a chance to be a part of something like local,
yeah,
you know, that will end up in a festival.
yeah. We'll end the festival. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. What's your timeline? What are you?
Just finishing it by the end of the month and
Okay.
getting it out there. So yeah,
Okay.
that's my personal deadline, and that I gave to myself
Yeah.
because I've done film festivals before, and I've been asked when am I going to make another film, because I made a film about 7 years ago. It was about the missing and murdered Indigenous women, and we did that at quite a few festivals and everything. And I kept getting asked when am I going to make another another piece,
Mhm.
piece, no pun intended. I just didn't want to not waste another year, but just wait another year for to get the courage to make a project or to write something, because it takes a
Okay.
lot. I mean, there's a lot of times when I know there's a lot of people that think about writing a script or wanting to make a movie and never get around to it for X, Y, and Z. And
Right.
fortunately, I was like my my mental health was in a good state and everything, so I'm just gonna go for it and make a movie. And it's funny because since I made the other film and making this one now, I've grown so much as an actor and so much as a producer and a writer, and so it was much more exciting because it was a lot less pressure because I knew all these tools now in my and I yeah, so it's this time around I got to have a little bit more fun with it. So yeah,
Hmm.
but always constantly learning. So yeah.
Right. I think that's interesting, like the courage to sit down and write something. I mean, like probably people think you just, writing it's maybe the easy part or you just do it, but
Yeah, no, that's the hardest like part. Like I said before, like in my
just
personal
starting.
opinion, yeah,
Yeah.
personal opinion is writing horror and comedy, because you have to. It's the objective is to like bring people in and scare them. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how else to
Yeah.
say that, like, or just make people laugh or just feel something. And one of my goals with this film is hopefully, we can get it turned into a feature and make more
Okay.
because it's just a Piece of Night 2, Piece of Night 3. They all
Yeah.
sound really awesome when you
Yes, they
just
do. They
rolls
do.
off the tongue.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, and creating a character that because I always admired horror films that um have, their villain in like in a mask or something, or just something, iconic that's their signature. And I feel like I haven't seen that lately in films,
Mm-hmm.
because that genre is kind of like put in the back, but it's slowly coming back to life. And yeah, so it's just kind of my version of that. So yeah.
Okay. And it's a short. How many minutes right now?
It's gonna be 14 minutes right now.
Okay. And eventually a feature. And
Eventually feature.
I don't mean to say that writing is easy. I mean, like maybe people might think the starting of writing is easy. You just sit down, but I imagine there's some kind of hesitation to actually, like, it might be in your head, but actually that step of putting it on paper and making it physical might be like a really hard part.
It's funny that when I started doing it, because I wrote like 7 different versions of it, and they
Hmm.
all weren't going well at all. And just getting feedback from people that I've worked with in the film industry, and getting their second opinion and everything like that, and it just wasn't flowing. And then one day at a pizza shop, just it took me 30 minutes to just put everything out there and just structure it and
Isn't
just
that
make it.
crazy?
Yeah, it's crazy how that works. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I know. I
yeah.
know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and another thing that I found out was, how they say that you got to treat the inner child in you special, and
My
yeah,
therapist
and
tells me that, yes.
what would you say to yourself, 10 years ago or whatever?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then I reversed that. I'm like, what would I say to myself? What 10 years ago me would say to myself now? Because that 10-year ago me just had so much drive and so
Mm-hmm.
much creative, like just awe, and also that version of me had nothing to lose, had nothing, it just didn't have anything to their name and everything. Now I have something to my name, and now it's just bars a little higher,
Mm-hmm.
and expectations are a bit higher. And so that's quite daunting sometimes. And obviously there comes, imposter syndrome. Like I said before, when I started doing this because mentally, my mental health was on point, and just sometimes that can be the case for your mental not to be on point. So
Right.
yeah, I just started looking at it that way. And also another thing is that actually, I think it was like 15 years ago, I wanted to make a film like this, and I made a sketch of what I wanted to look like. And then I look back at that sketch, and it's not too far off, which is kind
Yeah.
of cool. Yeah. So yeah.
It's cool when you have an idea for that long. Like I know what that's like, and and then yeah, you don't stray from it too much. So it's like that must be the thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you were right all along. Like I've been really following, this is a total side note, but I went and saw the play Oh Mary in New York on Broadway, and
Ooh.
Cola Scola, he just won a Tony. They just won a Tony last night. But
Oh,
they wrote the play, they um, starred in it, and it's still going on. But they have these really interesting perspectives about how they got the idea for the play 13 years ago, and then they say they sat on it for 13 years because they were afraid to start it, or afraid to, like, that it might be terrible or something.
yeah.
But then it
Yeah.
just kept coming up, and finally they did it, and now it's like, the toast of the town. And it's just like
Yeah.
really interesting how that process works. And that kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can have all the pieces of the puzzle together and
Hmm.
not want to put it together. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it
Or
takes
you
it's
like being afraid of failure, but afraid of success. Like I mean, just I could relate so much to these like thoughts.
yeah, it's fascinating that you can be afraid of success.
Yeah, I
That's one
know.
thing
And
I've
I know
noticed
exactly.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
You're
yeah.
afraid that your idea is not going to be as great as maybe you imagine. But when you've been holding on to it as long as you have since you drew it, like there's something there clearly. And I'm so glad
Yeah.
you know, you're working on it.
Yeah. No, I'm
Yeah.
happy to, and I think it came at the right time when I needed to know the right people,
Yeah.
yeah. So it
Yeah.
just, but also big shout out to my cast and crew because they're fantastic, and I couldn't have a better group to work with.
And I saw the trailer, and from what I saw some really good acting, really good like costume and makeup work.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'd love to hear more about who's working on it. Obviously, you're acting in it. You wrote it,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then most of it is there's three of you, right?
Yeah, there's three of us plus our monster. So
Oh, okay. Plus
yeah,
the monster. I
yeah.
forgot the.
Plus the monster. Yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted to forget the
He,
monster.
yeah, he gets upset if you don't include him. So
Yes, I know.
yeah,
Oh, great.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so tell us about the actors that you're
Yeah,
working
we
on.
my good friend Monique, she's one of the actors, and my good friend Giancarlo. I'm really happy with their performances. I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't ask for
Uh-huh.
anyone better. And also the great thing about it is that we've all known each other for quite some time. So just having that, it's quite refreshing because you, as an actor, you always have to like have that phase of whether you're playing best friends, whether you're playing boyfriend and girlfriend, husband and wife, or
Hmm.
even two people that just hate each other. You just got to spend time with each other to build up those relationships and figure those out. But I
Right.
was quite blessed. I've already known both of them for a good amount of time, so we already knew each other. Just knew how to make each other laugh. So
Yeah.
that was easy. But also that came in handy because just directing and acting. Because the other film I did, I directed and acted it too, but I had a co-director on that one, and this one was had a couple of the people on the sidelines that I trusted to help me out with that. But yeah, because it can get quite a you can get quite flustered sometimes, doing being a director and an actor
Yeah,
at
I
the
was going
same
to
time.
ask about that. Like, how does,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's something that I really admire, like that some filmmakers like Ben Affleck is one big inspiration of just acting and directing in your own film. And
Hmm.
I'm still trying to figure out how everything flows or how the best way I can, produce this
Hmm.
with me being in it. And it's a lot of acting in the mirror before we shoot things.
Okay.
Yeah. But also playback helps. But also we were such a tight little crew that we didn't have access to playback. So it was just a matter of really trusting your performances, trusting, um, your co-actor across from you. And it's always kind of funny because there's one big role in acting that you don't tell other actors what to do. And so now that I'm directing them, and I'm just like, hey, can you not just sitting right across from them? So,
Right.
but they were the no egos were on set, which has made everything easy and everything
Yes.
very much a
Yeah.
collaborative effort. So
Hmm.
yeah, I was pretty happy with that result. So yeah.
And did you do all the casting, or did you have someone else
I
involved
didn't,
there?
no, I didn't,
Okay.
yeah. Because I
Okay.
wanted to, since I was acting in it, I wanted people that I, trust. That's a big thing, and people that I already knew. And also, the last thing is like I knew what they could bring to the project
Hmm.
with their acting chops. And Monique, she's just phenomenal, and with all the performances she's given over the years. And then Giancarlo is just electric when you just put a camera on him.
Hmm.
And yeah, just all those
Yeah, you
little
can
things.
tell,
And
and just in the trailer, you can tell.
yeah, so yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And are they from Santa Fe also?
They're from different parts of New Mexico. Yeah,
Okay.
so I don't want to misspeak and tell them they're from like Rio Rancho or something like that. Not nothing wrong
Okay.
with Rio Rancho, but I just
Okay.
don't, yeah,
You didn't
yeah,
want to get a, yeah. And
yeah. But they're both right now they're both Albuquerque natives at the moment, so that's where
okay.
they live. So yeah, so,
And
yeah.
filmed in New Mexico,
In Santa Fe, yeah,
in
filmed
Santa
in
Fe.
Santa Fe and then filmed in Los Angeles as well. So
Okay.
because that's what I'm out here doing is finishing
Sure.
up the film with shots and
I'm
everything. So
curious
yeah,
what the Los Angeles parts are. What, or
that's a
you
secret.
can't tell. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe next time when the film is out, then I
Yes,
can tell
yes.
you
Well,
I can tell you what parts is.
yes, when
Yeah.
I see the whole thing, then we can go through bit by
Yeah.
bit. And so who else? You had, how big was your crew? Like for people about to make a short film, like tell us what, like behind the scenes, like how big's your crew? What was your budget? Like,
Everyone's kind of did this because they love the project so much.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just feeding everybody, making sure everyone was okay. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, that's the one thing with the funding that I'm planning to do is that once we reach our goal, we can cover our sound mixer, our composer, and everything like that, and actually, pay people for their work and everything like that. But so
Mm-hmm.
far as our budget, we just, me and Victor kind of just did this out of our own pockets to get
Mm-hmm.
everything started because I wanted to get it in for the deadlines for the film festivals and everything like that. So
Yeah.
I wanted to make a move sooner than later. So we just had to do that. And everyone was quite, thoughtful with it. Just, I'm very thankful that they put their time in this. So far as the group, we have like about 8 people on our crew, 8 or 9 at a time. Yeah. And everyone just kind of doing multiple things, which was kind of hard, which I commend them for doing because it was a lot. So,
Mm-hmm.
but luckily everyone, I put together a team that they all got along swimmingly, and so
Yeah.
it made
Great.
everything a lot easier because I've been on sets before that I'm not going to say the names when
Yeah.
someone else doesn't get along, and it just makes the train ride longer. So yeah.
Yeah, it's almost impossible. And that's one great thing about working for yourself or, being the writer and director and actor. Like you can choose your team.
Yeah.
And at some point I realized, it's like pretty soon over time you just end up having all these talented friends. It's not like you're just choosing your friends. You happen to be surrounded by talented friends that you like to work with that are easy to work with,
Oh, yeah,
like
I'm very lucky. I know I'm
yeah.
very lucky because all my friends they're all quite impressive at what they do. So yeah, so it's just
Yeah.
yeah, and
And
they're
then,
easy to work with, and they're very it's their creative flow that they bring in. It's makes everything so much more fun and
yeah,
easy to yeah. So yeah,
yeah. That's a great reason to write, to keep writing, so you can have parts,
yeah,
to
we
get to work with your friends, which is my goal
yeah
in general for
yeah.
life.
Yeah, while we were doing it, we were thinking about other ideas of what we could do, or like
Sure.
with my cinematographer, like, oh, this shot doesn't work for here, but what if we put it into something else?
Right.
Or or the actor is just envisioning them in different characters and everything. So yeah, but also just I because I wrote this into a feature and we're just showing the first 14 minutes and just
Oh,
kind of
you've written
just
the whole feature?
yeah, written the whole feature. Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
this
and
is okay.
yeah, it's the first 14 minutes. And I kind of modeled this off of a few films, just showing the first 15 and then the rest is later on because yeah, kind of doing my version of Scream. So
Okay.
yeah, how there's like a mini movie in the beginning and then the
Yeah,
rest of
yeah.
it is yeah. So yeah, I always like
Yeah.
that structure. Yeah, so yeah.
Wow. Okay. I didn't realize you had written the whole thing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Uh, and so how long did it take to shoot? The
Um it took 2 whole nights.
okay.
2 whole nights, and then we have 2 more days here in Los Angeles, so about 4 days. So
Real quick, let's just talk about it's a GoFundMe,
yes, it's GoFundMe, yeah,
a
and
piece
you
of
can
night,
yeah, piece of that, yeah.
and you're just looking for a little bit more to finish, you know.
Yeah, just a little bit more. Anything really helps, to be quite honest with you, whether it's $1 or more than that. It's just we all really appreciate it, and it just goes to creating the rest of the film and making sure people get paid for what they've done and everything. And yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
just
an
helps
easy
every
way.
yeah, it just helps.
Easy
And you
way
get a
to
credit,
get involved in film and
yeah, and you
your
get a credit in the film. So yeah,
Oh,
for
you
donating.
do?
Yeah, you
Okay.
get a credit. Yeah, yeah, you
Okay.
get credits.
And
Yeah. So there's
you want a credit in the film, then yeah.
yeah,
And it's
yeah,
fun to
yeah.
support, film going on and art going on in Santa Fe. Like,
Yeah, it's definitely important, and that's why another reason why I wanted to shoot it in New Mexico. I mean, I know I'm in Los Angeles right now, getting a couple pickups, but I wanted the whole production to be in
mm-hmm,
New Mexico, in Santa Fe, and show off the talents of
mm-hmm.
people in New Mexico because
Very talented.
yeah, we are a big talented group, and I just
Yeah.
want to showcase that for everybody else that we can, go toe to toe with all these other states that produce, content.
Sure.
and I'm really behind a big believer in that. So
Yeah.
yeah, but it's just, all of them, everybody that's been on the film, all from New Mexico, except for our composer, which I won't hold that against him. But no,
Well, maybe
he's
he'll move
fantastic.
there one day.
Yeah, maybe he will.
Yeah.
Then yeah,
Yeah.
after this interview, he'll.
Yeah. So we only have a few minutes left, but
Mhm.
can you go back into your inspiration for this film? Like, I just want to hear how the process works and how does your mind work and tell us about
Uh,
the inspiration.
if you heard how my mind works. So, how much time do you? No, for the inspiration for this film is that, like, I love every piece of cinema. I I started thinking about this idea because I really love M. Night Shyamalan's movies, John Carpenter and everything like that. And like I said before, there was no representation for us as natives for so far as horror. I mean, there's been sci-fi and horror, but I think there could be a bit more of it. And yeah, just it's kind of just stems. This whole thing stems from like early movies in the like mid 2000s, 90s when Scream first came out and just how they scared people. And in my personal opinion, that's like the last film that someone actually wore a mask and it actually worked.
Hmm.
And I and just and also with I knew that we weren't going to have a big budget, and I watched this movie called Signs, and they have to do a lot with sounds and scares and everything like that, and I was always so fascinated about that. And um, one project I did give myself, and also because I mentor other writers and everything, is that I wrote this to take place in one room. Like, what can you do in one room? You could
Mm.
do a lot in one
Hmm.
room, and how can I make that just one room terrifying to be in?
Hmm.
Because I think the most powerful like horror movies, they happen in just like a little tiny space or anything that's so and yeah, also because the budget wouldn't allow me to go outside the door. So
Right, right.
so I had to think about what can we do with that. And yeah, no, that's what was a big inspiration to a challenge for that for myself. So yeah.
I, I think, and I'm sure you find this as an artist and creator, like I like to seek out the constraints or have someone give me the constraints, and creating within the boundaries and constraints can create more creativity, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because it just and also just the timing of the film festivals and getting this done. That's why,
Hmm.
we really appreciate everyone's donations because you helped us pick up a little bit faster so we can get to our goal. And and also that's I'm a big believer of the saying. It's just like, what's the death to film? It's just more time and more money.
Yes.
And yeah, so it's just
Yeah.
yeah. So we have this deadline and we're going to reach it, and I'm very confident that we can get it done. And it's
Yeah.
very ambitious, but yeah, so that's why I have a really good team behind me,
Yeah.
helping me get there. So yeah, or helping us get there. I should rephrase that. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and one other thing you mentioned that I thought was interesting is you said you were in the mental health space to work on this, and reminds me of all the work you do for mental health and for the youth. And can you just remind us of the organizations you're a part of? And
Yeah, yeah. I'm a board member of Castle First. We help with foster kids and runaways and helping kids get reacclimated. And I also do a lot of keynotes for the Indian Child Welfare Act, and I incorporated men's mental health and suicide on reservations and talking about that and mentioning the ACEs tests and just it's and when I do these talks, it's very vulnerable. I mean, because I'm putting myself out there, I'm not admitting to um, my suicide attempt about 3.5 years ago. It's just because after Grey's Anatomy happened and my life changed drastically.
Mhm.
And that was really hard because my environment changed, people changed around me, and it was rough. And you can't handle it. I mean, it's hard to handle because now you're on this bigger pedestal, so to speak. And I got a good taste of some people wonder why actors or actresses or musicians lose it, or just because your life is different now,
Mhm.
and you go to substance abuse, or you just break down and have a meltdown and everything, and just like I was just my mind was just broken, and also my upbringing, I fell out of the foster system and was homeless from like 11 to about 17, 18 before I found a family that took me in and, had to start raising myself again over and just, there's a lot that happens before you're 18 and this like chemically in my brain wasn't wired properly. And
Mhm.
after my attempt 3.5 years ago, I was keen on trying to fix this or figure what this is out. And fortunately, I have good people behind me, friends and family that are very supportive of my journey in this. And once I got to a certain, healthy, I wanted to help others. And I started doing these keynotes, and it's in front of like 400 to 500 people at a time. And they walk away with something. And it's quite refreshing because there's a lot of men in the crowd, and they'll come up after me and say thank you because some of them don't really get to admit their feelings and how they feel until they're like in their 50s or 60s or until someone around them takes their own life. And it's been it's been one of my key things in my journey just to help as many people as I can, especially men, because we're taught not to feel emotions, we're taught not to cry, we're taught that we're less than if we feel anything. And once you bottle it up inside, it's hard. And I also talk about violence against, in men in relationships, because that happens too. It happens to all of us. Not, comparing apples to oranges, but it's just that when things happen to us, we tend to push it down and we don't talk about it until it's too late, till some people take their own life, or some people just use substance abuse and just kind of just go down a little rabbit hole of, yeah. So, but that's the work I'm doing, and I really enjoy it. And I'm still doing a lot of work with the Ukrainians as well, and getting ready to do another trip out there for, just trying to do all that.
Important work, your life's work,
Yeah,
It's like that's your life's work. All of it's your life's work.
yeah,
I love what is it? Your life plan. I don't know. Like all this everything you're doing seems like
yeah,
it's working together and good for you, good for people around
yeah,
you. Yeah.
yeah. And so I'm enjoying it, and it warms my heart because with the advocacy work, I'm helping people, and they're helping others,
Mm-hmm.
or making a film. My other friends have something else they can show
Mm-hmm.
to progress their work and everything. So it's a good little cycle of everything. So yeah,
Yeah.
quite
Cool.
happy with it. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna check in with you more often. I feel like we should have a regular check-in with
Yeah, it'd be fun.
all the projects you're working on and just to catch up. And
Yeah.
um, so one more time, GoFundMe, a piece of
GoFundMe,
night.
a piece of night. Yes.
Yeah, and you're
GoFundMe, a
just trying to
piece of night.
get $3,000 more to hit your goal. I feel like you can even get more. So, hey, Santa Fe, be a
Yeah.
part of history and this film that Rob Mesa is putting together.
Yeah.
And you get a credit too. So
Yeah, and credit. Yeah.
I'm gonna go
Yeah.
donate myself to get a credit.
Oh, thank you. I really
Yeah,
appreciate that. Yeah. So,
yeah,
and hopefully you'll be able to see it at the International Film Festival here in
of
Santa
course.
Fe. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the best.
Yeah, that would be the best. That's the goal. That'd
Yeah,
be
and
amazing.
And just to remind everyone on that note, submissions, the late submission deadline is June 11th, and the final submission deadline is July 17th. So everyone out there who's got a film to submit, including Rob, um, yeah, that's coming up. We have our gala coming up. There's a lot of cool stuff happening in Santa Fe. And then the festival is October 15th through 20th. We've added a day to the festival.
That's exciting.
Yeah, and the shorts are now Oscar qualifying. So the winners of the short programs are Oscar qualifying. That's new this year too. So there's
Yeah, I noticed that.
a
That's
lot of big
exciting.
stuff happening at the Santa Fe International Film Festival. So we'll
Yeah.
see you there. But hopefully I'll see you sooner.
I know. Hopefully that.
Yeah.
We'll hope
Okay.
on that. It was
Okay.
lovely talking to you, and thanks
Rob
for having me.
Mesa. What's your Instagram?
It's just Rob Mesa, Robert Mesa.
Robert Mesa. Follow
Yeah.
Robert Mesa on Instagram. Okay.
All right. Thanks so
This has
much.
been Film Talk Weekly. I'm Castle. This is Rob Mesa. We'll see you next week.